Hey, what's good, LBK? I know y'all heard that real smooth jazz, that smooth, funky sound. That's some stock music by one of my favorite jazz artists, a cat by the name of Nim Sadat from Turkey. Man, this cat is dope. I like him. That's I couldn't believe that he put his music on one of the stock music sites. You know, I'm a videographer by trade, so I have access to a lot of stock music sites and stuff like that. And this guy, Nim Sadat, put one of my favorite albums. I found it not too long ago on this stock music site. I say, what? I say, man, you know I'm finna play that song John as part of my my intro music. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to make some changes here at the show. One of the things that we're doing, for example, along with that music, I'm working on a new intro. We're gonna have professional voiceover. That is to say, voiceovers recorded by yours truly, professional. We're gonna have some just a professionally edited intro. We're trying to step up our game a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We're constantly evolving and changing and trying to be what that old commercial used to say, be all that you can be on the Focus LBK show. Actually, it said be all you can be in the U.S. Army, but I'm talking about the Focus LBK show. Welcome. This is, dude, I think we are in episode 90, if I am not mistaken. And I don't think I'm mistaken. I think I'm right on it. I'm scrolling. I'm looking at my electronics. Here we go. Yep. Season 2, episode 90. And, you know, I want to touch on something. Sometimes you listen to the show, I talk about COVID a little bit here and there, because that was a formative time period for the country, for the world, for me in particular, of course. But I mean, for everybody on the planet, everybody on this little blue marble floating in space. COVID was it was a trip and a half, wasn't it? Especially if you like me and you think that the whole thing was exaggerated to the point of being fraudulent, which I in short terms, I simply call it an op or an operation. I call it the COVID op, the COVID operation. Well, get this. I was scrolling through some of my news sources the other day, and come to find out, the National Counterterrorism Center, the NCTC, they have a publication called The Current, and it says that they actually were on the lookout for violent extremists during COVID. And they thought that Americans would be so upset by the COVID mandates, the lockdowns and the vaccine mandates and stuff like that. They had the nerve to say people were going to become violent domestic extremists, or domestic violent extremists, DVEs, they call them. So here in this communique authored by the National Counterterrorism Center, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI, 13 December 2021 is when this came out. They say NCTC, National Counterterrorism Center, Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI assess that some domestic violent extremists, or DVEs, and their foreign analogs will threaten or mobilize to violence in opposition to new or expanding COVID-19 mandates. And it says that in 2020, DVEs threatened or plotted violence against the healthcare sector and state and local government officials. I don't know where they got that from. Looks like it was originally classified, unclassified for official use only. It's kind of hard to tell. They got it blacked out. But basically, when the vaccines came out, these counterterrorism officials, I used to work in that sector. I was a intelligence professional for over 25 years. They claim, these other professionals, that they thought Americans were going to in some way rise up. But you know what didn't happen? People did not rise up. Especially not in any kind of concerted way. Now, you would have thought, I thought they were going to rise up. I had thoughts and plans in my mind, and I'm a little bit ashamed to say that I didn't even act on them. But I was outraged. And the reason I was outraged is because it was clear early on, when you follow the right news sources, by the way, the people that actually tell you what the science, people actually tell you what the science says. They knew that COVID wasn't that dangerous. Even the first version of it, the first variant, you had look up John Ioannidis, Dr. John Ioannidis. He's a world-leading Stanford-educated, matter of fact, at Stanford, dean of like statistics and microbiology. He's some crazy guy whose whole job is to model how deadly viruses are going to be. He's a guy that's accurate, by the way. Some of these people, I think, get paid to be inaccurate. They get paid to blow stuff out of proportion, like Neil Ferguson. You want to look that guy up if you want to. But anyway, John Ioannidis from Stanford, I believe it is, did the research, and it was by 2020 or 2021. He already showed conclusively that the death rate, the case fatality rate from COVID was something like, what was it, 0.036%? So in other words, the average person had a 99.75, basically a 99.75% chance of living if you got COVID. That's the flu, dude. Just like what everybody said, it's the flu. Now, they exacerbated the authorities, public health authorities, exacerbated the situation by saying, stay home till your lips turn blue. We can't do nothing for you. Don't take proven things at work like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and Z-Packs, zinc and vitamin D and C and some other vitamins. Heavy doses of those work just fine against COVID. There's people all over the planet, doctors, frontline doctors who actually treated people, not talking about bureaucrats in agencies in Washington sending out mandates to people. I'm talking about frontline doctors who actually worked with patients and treated patients. Budesonide, by the way, that's another one. Help you breathe. They were treating people on the front line with terrible cases of COVID, and they were surviving because these people were staying home like they were told, and they weren't going to the hospital. So these so-called intelligence agencies put out this report saying basically people are going to trip and flip and do counter acts of terrorism because of the vaccine mandates and the COVID lockdowns and all that. And guess what? Not a single person did in this country. I never saw anything like that. In some other places, Australia and England, they're in Germany, there was some pretty bad skirmishes in the street. I wonder why we didn't do nothing like that in America. Part of the reason is because they paid you COVID stimulus money to stay home. So you thought, well, I'm mad. But you know, that was a crime against humanity, the way the government overreacted to COVID. And they overreacted on purpose, because if they were following the science, all the guys that I was following, Del Bigtree on the High Wire, that's John Ioannidis, Robert Malone, John Rappaport, who's a medical reporter of decades long experience. All of these guys were saying, and they were interviewing, by the way, these guys were experts in and of themselves, but they were also interviewing other experts. And they were saying, you have a 99 point something percent chance of living if you get COVID. It's not something that you lock the whole world down. You notice that the United States government health apparatus, National Institutes of Health or whatever it was, just said that we no longer recommend the COVID vaccine for healthy kids or pregnant women. That was known during 2020 and 2021 when the vaccine first came out in December of 2020, I think it was, and 2021 and there on beyond. That was already known from the studies they did that it shows no efficacy. They didn't test it on pregnant women, but yet they recommended it for pregnant women. So they told you to go out and get this brand new experimental shot if you're pregnant, and it's fine, it's cool, don't worry about it. But they never tested it on a single pregnant woman. And there's all kind of terrible side effects that they noted when they started actually vaccinating pregnant women. Miscarriages mostly, and super heavy menstrual bleeding in vaccinated women. The other thing was, like I say, these things were just known. Everything that I'm talking about, these are not new facts. These things have been known since 2020, some of them since 2020, and most of them since 2021, if not 2020. So now they're saying, oh, we don't recommend the COVID vaccine for pregnant women. We don't recommend it for healthy kids. Not a single healthy kid, as far as I have seen doing the research, reading various sources, not a single healthy kid died from COVID in the United States. And it wasn't because they locked the schools down. It was simply because kids don't get it too badly. It doesn't do them bad. It's not a bad illness for them. That was known before they locked schools down. That was known why they kept the schools locked down. And that was known when they mandated the vaccines, put it on the childhood vaccine list, supposedly mandatory to go to school. By the way, it's not mandatory. In Texas, you can opt out of all that mess if you want to. If you want to take it, take it. If you don't. That's called freedom. It's called freedom, and freedom is what we did not have during the whole COVID example. But anyway, what I'm talking about, and I'm going to segue into another story, but what I'm talking about here is this article right here where it says it's a counterterrorism release, a little counterterrorism report that said they expected Americans to get violent during COVID, and they actually didn't. Some people say, what about January 6th? And I say, well, that's a whole can of worms that we'll discuss some other time. But you know, when during COVID, you could get violent if you was protesting in favor of George Floyd. That was fine. But they didn't have nothing about that in this report. It was, so you can ruin people's lives. You can shut down people's businesses. You can tear families apart. You can kill old people, elderly patients by not giving them the proper care. Governor Cuomo up in New York sending all the elderly patients out of the hospitals who had COVID. They sent them to nursing homes, sent them back to the nation where they weren't equipped to care for them. They died. That's a huge portion of the million COVID deaths that they talk about. A huge portion of those are old people who were sent back from hospitals into long-term care facilities where they couldn't care for them and they died. There's a report that's supposed to be coming out on that from Congress or from Robert F. Kennedy or whoever. They're supposed to be doing a report on that about how they exacerbated the death and destruction of COVID by failing to treat it. So you dang right, there should have been some kind of counter protest against the COVID stuff, but there was very little of that in the United States. Like I said, there were some big ones overseas. Australia, they actually put people in COVID camps, literally put them in internment camps, but they didn't kill them. They put them in there if you didn't get vaccinated over the flu. People said, we didn't know. We was operating on the best science we had at the time. No, it's because you didn't want to know. There was a whole side of the debate that was being silenced, and they were professionals. It wasn't conspiracy theorists and cat lady people. It wasn't people wearing tinfoil hats. It was doctors from Stanford like John Ioannidis. It was the co-inventor of the mRNA technology like Dr. Robert Malone, or one of the inventors of the whole mRNA shot, saying, yo, this stuff is crazy. Don't do that. We shouldn't mandate it. It's not even safe yet. We don't even think it's safe. And yet nobody rebelled. Nobody rebelled. Now, to continue down the path, I've always told my wife, my whole family, in fact, I don't want to ever be in an old folks home. That's what I call them. I hope that term don't offend nobody. That's what I call them. I grew up saying old folks home. So, but I tell them, and I constantly remind them, not constantly, but every so often I remind them, hey guys, I don't want to be in no old folks home, and I don't want to be, if I'm in the hospital and I'm in a coma or something, and you got to have me hooked up to a machine to live or something like that, take me off of that. If I can't make it, give me about a month. 3 weeks to a month. And if I can't make it on my own, let me go. And if I got to be in a care home, that sounds like death. Being in an old folks home, even if it's a good one. It ain't got to be like Golden Girls, like Shady Pines, where Sophia was in Shady Pines. It sounded like it was a horrible place. This could be the best place in town. I don't want to be there. To me, that just don't sound like living. You can't go where you want. They got you in bed. They giving you medications, apparently against your will. And the reason I bring this up, because I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and they were relating a situation that went on in their family, where one of the elders in their family was placed in a home and by some other faction of the family that don't even live here. And there's a whole big court case. And the bottom line is they did not care about that elderly member of the family. They just wanted her money. There was quite a bit of money involved from what I understand. And these people were basically didn't know she was going to live that long. She lived to be like 90. She's still alive now. So it was a custody battle over this lady. And she just ended up going into, they ended up basically taking her care from her, private care that she had the money to pay for, but they stole her money apparently. Somebody else in her family that was advocating for her and wanted to care for the mother, for the elderly woman, was paying out of their pocket to provide the care. And it was this huge court case, and it took years, and it just now kind of got quasi-resolved. And it just makes me think, man, because I saw this COVID article, and I had that conversation, and it just makes me think, man. I think what I'm really getting at is there's several things here. First of all, dude, try to maintain your health. I took some time off from work today, and I realized I'm bullcorning with my health. And I went and worked out, man. Did an old workout I used to do in the Air Force. I did it much more slowly, and much less weight than I used to do when I was active duty. Then again, when I was active duty, I didn't have all this. You couldn't see all this. So I took my time with it because it's my first time lifting weights in years. So I just said, man, I cannot be incapacitated. I do not want to be incapacitated. I do not want to be dependent on other people giving me care. I do not want to be. See, that's one of my biggest things right now. As a strong, relatively strong and healthy man, a man that has been blessed by our Heavenly Father with a reasonable portion of his health and strength and mental acuity and verbal dexterity, being blessed as I am now, I realize, man, if I don't start working to keep those blessings, to steward those blessings, to steward my temple, it's just going to be downhill. And I don't want to go downhill because I don't want to be in no old folks home. I don't want no, we've all seen them. You've seen those videos online where the orderlies and the caretakers in the old folks home mistreating the old folks and the elderly people and beating them up and talking bad to them and stuff. That's disgraceful. And you definitely, if anybody going to hell, it seems like people like that ought to go to hell. You know what I'm saying? How you going to do something to defenseless people? Old folks and babies. If you harming defenseless people, you a demon. You harming somebody that can't defend themselves? You harming somebody that ain't did nothing to you? What? That's disgusting, dude. That's why I say I can't be. That's the whole reason I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I'm wondering. I'm gonna weave it all together though. I'm a Second Amendment advocate because I don't like to be at the mercy of my surroundings. You never know when somebody gonna pop up and you need to defend yourself. So I strongly advocate the Second Amendment. I'm a Second Amendment extremist in certain, not like I'm gonna do something crazy, but an extremist meaning I have a literal interpretation of it, like the founding fathers did. I think you should be able to own whatever you want to own, because it don't matter what you own. What matters is what you do with it. If you have an anti-tank gun in your backyard, but you never actually do anything with it, who cares? You know what I'm saying? So hey, I say you ought to be able to have anti-tank weapons, grenades and stuff. You ain't never did nothing with it. Wait. And by the way, y'all saying, oh, this boy crazy here. What in the world is this boy talking about? Nah, if you actually read the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, you read the Founding Fathers' writings, they literally say in there at one point that is the benefit and beauty of living in the United States, is that we have an advantage over all of the kingdoms of Europe in that we, individual citizens, may possess, quote, all the terrible weapons of the soldier. Now, in those days, the terrible weapons of a soldier was a sword and a musket. But today, the terrible weapons of a soldier, and a cannon. And by the way, you could have cannons back in those days. People brought in Texas, y'all know the story, Goliad, come and take it and all that. People had cannons. It's funny to me that the more weapons people had back in the days, the more peaceful everything was. Of course, there was criminals and crazy people. There's always criminals and crazy people. This is why you shouldn't have to be at the mercy of those criminals and crazy people. What if those criminals and crazy people work in the old folks' home? That's why I don't want to go there. Same reason. I don't like to be at the mercy of my surroundings and those in my surroundings. I like to be able to help myself. That's my mindset. I got a victor mindset. A lot of people have a victim mindset. They looking for something to be. I got ADHD. Man, you ain't got no ADHD. You just don't bear down and try. Oh, I got this. I'm neurodivergent. You ain't no neurodivergent. Come on, man. That's not, being neurodivergent is not a blessing. It's not a virtue. It's a hardship. But that's why they claim it. They claim hardship. I don't claim no hardships. I'm blessed. And I thank my Heavenly Father for it. And I realize that I'm blessed. And that's why I say, man, I got to get back into lifting these weights. I got to get back into moving and grooving, eating a little better, leaving some of that red wine and brandy and stuff alone. You know what I'm saying? It's not good for you. And it renders you a servant not only to those substances, but also a potential servant to unscrupulous individuals in the medical system. I don't ever want to have to go to the hospital. After COVID, after they showed they behinds in COVID, I don't want nothing to do with those people. Talking about go on and die if you don't get the COVID shot. Well, you should. Well, there was a lot of that going around. There was a whole lot of that going around. That's why I say COVID was an eye opener, and I'm trying to interact, I guess I'm trying to enact some of the lessons that I learned from COVID right now. And one of those lessons is I don't want to be beholden to anybody. I don't want to be at the mercy of unscrupulous people. Whether that's in the hospital system, an old folks home, the legal system, nothing. This is one of those things, man, to really stand on your own 2 feet. You got to get out of debt. You got to keep yourself healthy. You got to keep a crew of strong loved ones and family members around you, and always work on those bonds, strengthen those bonds. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. Now, there will come a time, no doubt, if I live long enough, if I'm blessed with a long enough life, there'll come a time when I need help. But I want that time to be as far away as possible. So, man, you see how I wove all that together? I thought that was rather skillful. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I have too high opinion of what I was just talking about. But it seemed like to me, I saw a continuous through line between the government destroying people's lives by overreacting to COVID, knowingly overreacting. Because, see, I remember, I'm old enough to where I remember in 2020 when DJT, Donald J. Trump, was still in the office, was still president, all the Democrats said, we ain't taking Trump's vaccine. Y'all want me to, don't make me look it up and put up the videos. Kamala Harris, I would never take a vaccine developed by Donald J. Trump. Well, then when Trump got out of office, surprisingly enough, it was like, oh, now those vaccines are mandated. I thought you wasn't gonna take them. I thought it was Trump's shot. Oh, but see, when you in power, it's different. These are the type of people I don't want to have anything to do with. These are the type of people I do not want to be at the mercy of. These people crave power over everything. And like I say, talking with my friend about their family situation, about the old folks home and stuff, and I realized that the people that are the antagonists in that situation, the people that are doing evil, are self-professed Christians. Imagine that. Preachers even. I think one of them, she said, was a preacher or something. It's just crazy, man. And this what get me. You ain't scared to act like that? I ain't gonna lie. LBK, I'm scared. They say, don't be scared. No, I'm scared to act like that. You know why? Because I feel like God is looking at you. I feel like there is a creator. I feel like you do have to atone and pay for the things that you do. And I ain't down with that. Also, the reason I try to act right and be a good person, other than being scared of God, it's called God fearing. That's what they mean, I think. I guess that's what I feel like they mean when they say God fearing. I fear that. I'm scared of being judged. I don't fear God. I think God is a loving father, but I fear being judged by him. Just like I used to, when I was a kid, I used to fear being judged by my daddy. My daddy was a cool dude, but boy, you do the wrong thing, it's going to be some consequences and repercussions. And that's what I feel like the universe is that same way. And the great author of the universe, the Gatu, as the Masons call him, grand architect of the universe, I think what they call him, the Gato or whatever. He the same way, I feel like. I think he's a cool dude, but you don't want to get judged by him. You don't want to keep doing what he say don't do. I don't. I'm scared. That's about the only thing I'm scared of. That and being at the mercy of evil people. So I guess that's what we really talking about today, LBK. Being at the mercy of evil people. One of the ways to be at the mercy of evil people is be in debt. Evil people love for you to be in debt. Evil people love for you to be sick. Evil people love for you to have to call on them and need them. And that's what I fear, second to God. But then again, I guess I shouldn't fear that if I'm really trusting in the Lord. So, it's a journey. I'm trying to evolve, trying to understand, trying to grow wisdom, grow in my stature as a wise man. But yeah, If there's anything, I guess what today's show is all about, man, is do everything you can do to not be at the mercy of those who would evilly use you, those who would mistreat you and take advantage of you. And it is not a proud, good thing to be at the mercy of people. They call it virtue signaling. I don't know how many times I done seen regular people claim to have some kind of impediment or disadvantage or disability, and I'm looking at them like, y'all see how I'm looking? I don't say nothing. That ain't my place. Ain't my job. But I can sure look at them. You got to give them the up and down with the eyes. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you have a disability. You're autistic. Okay. That's funny because I know people with autism and they don't act like you. You act like a regular person. I know people with ADHD. Matter of fact, the people that I know with ADHD don't act like the people that claim to have ADHD. It's not something that you broadcast. Hey, look at me. I got this. I got that. There's no virtue in that. That's disgusting and it's a little sad. Claiming you got something wrong with you. Why? Because you can't get out there and make it do what it do. Shake your tail feather like everybody else. Scratch for the scratch. That's what I say. But then again, I got a victor mentality. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that. In fact, I'm pathetically imperfect. You know what I'm saying? But I know I don't want to be at the mercy of those who hate me, those who despise me, those who view me as a source of income. And so that's why I keep telling myself, man, I got to do something different. You know, as y'all can, what he say in the Bible? Y'all can do all that and do what you want to do. But as for me and mine, we going to serve the Lord. As for me and mine, I'm going to do something different. That's the way I see it. Well, I just be running my mouth up in here, boy. I tell you what, though. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to get it off your chest. I don't know. It's a lot of things that happen. I sit back and watch the passage of time, enjoy the passing scene as it slides from left to right and before me. And some of the stuff just make you shake your head. You know, SMH, as the kids say. It's shaking my head. Shaking my head. People in your family claiming to be holy but be the main ones seem like the seed of the serpent. You know what I'm saying? People in the hospital industry, the medical field, supposed to have taken an oath to first do no harm. Did nothing but harm during COVID, purposely. Just following instructions. And then there was people out there that was saying, hey, my research is actually showing the opposite, and this thing seems to be working, and this seems to be working. And they was like, nah, take his license. Kick him off YouTube. Take his practice. Yeah, that's what, man, I tell you what. But then again, you know, you have to be thankful for people that do that, because what's that old saying? When people show you who they are, believe them. Okay, thank you for showing me who you are. I believe you. I definitely believe you. I feel what you're saying, dog. Yeah, I don't know how long I've been talking, but the point of today's show is do what you can today to not be at the mercy of those who are of evil people. Not be at the mercy of those who would use you evilly. Do what you can today to be able to stand on your own 2 feet to the extent possible. And I realize that no man is an island. I think it was John Donne had that poem. Everything is all intertwined and interlaced. You really can't do it all by yourself. But that's why I say cultivate a group of people around you too, that's down with you and that'll defend you and help you, and that you can defend and help, that y'all can be with, man. You need a crew. You know what I'm saying? They got to be crispy too. You need a crispy crew. All right, LBK. Thank y'all for tuning in. Next week, we should have a in-studio guest. I'm not going to name him, but we going to talk about making an impact in the lives of children here in the LBK. So, thank y'all for tuning in. This is your host, Robert Jenkins. This is the Focus LBK Show, episode 90. We're going to sign off for the day, but stay tuned. You know, we're going to have some good content coming up for you. And by the way, what y'all doing for Juneteenth? Hit me down in the comments and let me know what y'all got planned. I know we got the parade, but is there any other stuff going on for Juneteenth? I don't know. Let me know. Hit me down in the comments. Hit me down in the comments if you feel what I'm saying about doing what you can now to not be at the mercy of those who hate you later. All right, then. Kind of a somber note to close on, but close we will. Y'all take it easy. We'll catch you next time. Peace.